us to get Frank Mastrangelo and to come in and share Pay Amigo. I asked Frank to come in and give the presentation for the group. The one thing that we've seen is that we're really lucky as a fund to get a chance to participate alongside the founding team as the first venture investors in this deal. And as Frank will, I'm sure share with the group, there's been some other VC traction in the opportunity. And as we look ahead to probably another raise in the next few months, I think there will be maybe an opportunity for the broader group to revisit and take a look down the road when the company is getting priced. So I wanted everyone to hear about the traction and hear everything that Frank's accomplished, so that it's not coming out of the blue in a few months, because this is the type of opportunity that's not going to be around forever when Frank does decide to raise the price round, I think. So Frank, with that, oh, actually, one sec, sorry, I got to brag about Frank. So for those of you who don't know, because Frank's probably too modest to share, Frank is probably one of the most accomplished people in fintech that we have on the panel, and that's saying something, because we got Mr. Mansfield, we got a lot of great Mike, we got a lot of great fintech. Adam's got a great track record in fintech as well. We got a lot of great folks here with backgrounds in fintech. But Frank was a co-founder, CEO, or president of Bancorp, was a former CEO of Green Dot, and was a CEO of Yapstone. So needless to say, if you're gonna question his projections or his numbers, come ready today, I would say, because I think Frank's well armed with the data. So I'll hand it over, Frank, and you take it away.
No, so no pressure. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate that very much. It's I'm not sure I deserve all that introduction, but it's great to be with you all here today. And once again, I appreciate you letting me all hang out with you from the East Coast on the LA forum here. I've had a lot of fun through the years participating in these. Garrett, I'll pop up the deck if I'm able to do that.
Hey, Frank, while you're doing that, just so you know, this group is not one that responds well to false modesty.
Well, we'll see.
That's a good
one. So anyway, look, what we're doing and been working on since February here is a company called Pay Amigo. We're thrilled to have some VC. Garrett was actually our first institutional investor. Really what we're doing here is look, the concept is that the emerging markets are the fastest growing markets in the world. Large enterprise merchants, cross-border merchants need access to these markets, but they're very complex. There's a significant amount of complexity associated with them. Doing business, as many do today, using like cross-border acquirers or cross-border firms, lead to lots of payment failure. Typical way a large merchant would actually shift into one of these countries and try and build support. Ultimately, the large merchant comes to the conclusion that they really need to support local payment methods, but local payment methods is really complex in these markets. Not like the US market where you just plug into Fiserv or WorldPay or whatever it may be and support all the various credit and debit networks. Usually there's a significant number of integrations that are very localized payment networks and payment systems that one has to support. Getting lots of feedback, don't know where that's coming from, but when a merchant does support those local payment methods, they'll typically see in these markets, depending on the demographic and the product set, you can see as much as a 30 to 50% lift in revenue as a result. I'll give you a core example. When Microsoft went to Brazil and ultimately integrated Pix for the first time, the local bank transfer system, they actually saw about a 200% lift in revenue as a result on Xbox. Reason for that is, and any of you familiar with the Brazilian market, if you're using a cross-border acquirer in Brazil, the majority of people can't pay you. Number one. Number two, the Xbox demographic doesn't have a card to begin with. They use the bank transfer system called Pix. So in implementing, Pix for payment in Brazil, Microsoft was able to lift essentially, sales dramatically. Not a large enough market for them to go in and support themselves, though, right? So what most merchants do is actually partner with someone to actually solve these markets for them, right? Hence Pay Amigo. It's a single API, single integration that ultimately provides every payment rail we're integrated to our merchants to utilize. The API itself is about 2 sprints from an implementation standpoint. To move from one country to the next or one payment rail to the next is a couple days of configuration work once the API is implemented. So ultimately, as we roll out our platform and infrastructure and build out across the world, merchants can grow with us across emerging markets. We started this, as I said, in February, because of just our knowledge in the space and our experience. We were able to piece together the technology, essentially acquire 9 subsidiaries, 9 local entities in various countries: Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, India, a PI license in Europe, an entity in the UK, et cetera, essentially to begin this effort and begin this company. So we launched our first client in Brazil, which is up and live today, both integrated to essentially the major and the local card networks and the Pix network. We launched our first client earlier this month. We have a host of other clients and a strong pipeline from a business development standpoint. Argentina and India and Europe will be our next market to go live. Our goal is to build across 50 markets over the next 5 years or so. What differentiates us from others, you might be familiar with companies like dLocal and eBanks and Flutterwave that do something very similar to what we're talking about, right? But just as an example, dLocal and eBanks have built completely into LATAM before they went anywhere else. Flutterwave built into Africa. Today, if a merchant wants access to all the top emerging markets in the world, ultimately they need to integrate with 7 or 8 different companies like dLocal or eBanks or Flutterwave to cover the world. What we're doing instead is actually building across all the top markets first, and then secondary markets second. It's one of the core benefits. It's what we hear merchants saying they want. Merchants don't care about Uruguay and Paraguay, right? As much as they care about Morocco or Turkey or Vietnam or Japan, like other markets like that are actually much larger, much more complex, and much more lucrative for them to build into and enter. So our growth plan matches more, and in support for these countries matches more what what we hear these merchants asking for and how they prioritize their own markets. The other thing that makes us pretty unique is that, as Garrett said, the team of us, we've spent a lot of time in fintech. We spent a lot of time in payments across our careers. We spent a lot of time essentially selling into large enterprise clients as a group. We understand what it means to partner. By that I mean most others in the
Did Frank freeze?
do some pretty underhanded thing from a private deal. What's that?
I'm sorry, Frank. You froze on my side for a second, but I think we're back to okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so dLocal is a public company, so we're able to parse their metrics. Just as an example, dLocal extracts close to a 600 basis point margin, right, from the merchants on their platform. They do that. One of the ways they do that, the merchants actually think they're paying somewhere between 300 and 400 basis points, right? But but dLocal does some things like hold out the retail FX rate. Well, of course, they get the interbank FX rate. We go about educating our clients in a fully transparent manner, sharing our fully loaded costs in detail, and essentially, marking the, marking the rates to what we feel is a healthy margin that, they're typically more than willing to pay. So, and that averages, just for what it's worth, 350 basis points plus or minus is where we end up, about where, like I said, what folks think they're paying dLocal today. There's a handful of verticals that we're focused on. We've got traction in virtually all of them. Crypto, not that one. We're actually not focused on that one at the moment, but there's a lot of interest there from crypto firms, but that's not one we're pushing into at the moment. Our first client is a gaming client. One of the co-founders sold the first in-gaming advertising company, actually at a Microsoft a number of years ago. So he's pretty well known in that vertical, pretty well known in that space. As a result, eventually, as we build this platform, we'll scale up into tier 1 merchants. Right now, we're primarily focused on tier 2, tier 3. I'm flipping through this fast, so we can get to questions, and I keep this within 10 minutes. But a rollout plan, looks something like this. Today, we have, as I said, our first merchant signed live, utilizing card and Pix in Brazil. We have 4 referral relationships with gateway clients that are integrating to our platform. And we have a series of other merchants that we're contracting with right now. We're running well ahead of our revenue plan and actually well behind our forecasted expense load right now. So we are already beyond the ARR we forecasted this year. And by the end of the year now, we're forecasting we'll actually have contracted revenue to cover the end of 2024's ARR by the end of this calendar year, based on our pipeline. That's, like I said, we're a pretty experienced team, and as a result, we've been able to get this off the ground pretty quickly, and get to revenue in a pretty methodical way. Garrett mentioned capital. We raised 1.5 million in capital today. As I said, Garrett was our first institutional, VC, effectively, like on the cap table. We recently just took in, I think, the last of the investments we'll take into our pre-seed round. That is, Commerce Ventures is coming in to fund the Commerce Ventures, and actually some VC taking a small piece we have left of the pre-seed round, and Commerce is also committing a nice block of capital essentially into our seed round, which will kick off sometime in Q4.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Frank, for giving us the rundown on Pay Amigo. Let's open it up for questions for the group. I will start things off, seeing as how we seem to always have a quiet group to start. You mentioned a couple of beachhead or initial customers in the gaming space. I didn't quite catch. Could you talk about some of the pending contracts and what you anticipate the recurring revenue to be on just with those initial customers this year, where you're looking to end the year, and how, because I feel like that 1.14 is a little low.
Yeah, it is. It is our first client. Like, as I said, our first client's a UK actually sports betting platform called Betzel. And they themselves, between card and Pix, already represent more revenue, more ARR than the 114 we actually forecasted we'd end 2023 at. The sectors the two primary sectors we're getting the most traction in Brazil are travel and gaming, not sports betting, but we're talking like e-gaming. We are getting some traction in sports betting also, but that's obviously a vertical to be careful in. The management teams had a long-standing relationship with Betzel. We know them really, really well. We know that they're high-quality operators, and they're willing to come on and be our beta client. While our beta client, it's still at a 350 basis point margin.
Now, on that revenue, how much do you guys make? So when you're doing 1 million ARR, what margin comes back to Pay Amigo?
3.5%. That is net. That's our net margin.
I see. So when it's 1 million ARR, that's basically 30,000 a year in gross margin back to the company.
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions from the group?
Wait. Say that again. The number here, this is not the number that Pay Amigo is taking in?
No, we take in 3.5, like net 3.5%. That's above our cost. That's above payment network costs, above FX costs, above platform and payment rail costs. So that is our net revenue, not gross revenue, net revenue.
This is your net revenue, or the 3.3% of this is your net revenue?
Both.
Do you have a slide with your revenue?
This is our revenue.
Yeah, they'll make 3% margin on that 1 million.
No. This is our no.
That's
Yeah. Okay. I think I pretty much caught that. The 1.14 million, that is 3.3% of your total, right? The amount that you're working with is a lot larger. You guys are taking in 1.14 million. That is your money, right? Because I think it was just coming off to somebody else that you might actually only be doing 3.3% of that. I just want to be clear, that is money to Pay Amigo that you keep.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. So your gross sales are 30 million, and you're taking a million.
Yeah,
That's
that's
correct.
what I wanted to make sure you got that across.
Correct. 30 million in TPV, 3.5% margin, $1.2 million in ARR. Bingo.
I see. Okay.
Glad we clarified that.
So sorry, I didn't comprehend the question.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
And Frank, I know we got limited time here today, but I'm sure you'll get lots of questions in chat. But I would like you to take a moment and reiterate. So part of the secret sauce in your ability to scale so quickly, and you touched on this in the presentation, was your ability to essentially leverage some of the past technology that had been built. Could you kind of explain, how that came about and what gave you sort of that entry point in the market besides just the relationships?
Yeah, sure. Look, we were aware of technology from a company that had purpose-built a platform essentially for cross-border transactions that we were able to license in a very capital efficient manner. Part of the founding team had worked with the platform in the past and worked with that platform in the past. As Garrett said, I was the CEO of Yapstone. Yapstone board essentially decided to liquidate the company. So you probably saw they merged with another firm relatively recently. That meant there were pieces of Yapstone that were going to be unneeded, unutilized. We acquired some of those. Some of those were the global subsidiaries we acquired. We were aware of another company called Pay Scout that wanted to exit some of their global subsidiaries. So we acquired the PI license, the entity in Brazil and India, from them. Again, relatively inexpensively, little cash need, a little bit of equity, essentially, into each of these transactions to piece this together like relatively quickly. And beyond that, what really got us to revenue then and quickly was relationships that have been long existing with many of the pipeline merchants and referral sources and things like that we've done business with in various contexts through the years.
I mean, to endorse what Frank is saying as well, to build out an infrastructure like this would probably take 3 or 4 years, I'm guessing.
There was a lot. I think there was a lot more years than that into the platform itself that we were fortunate enough to be able to license, as I said, in a pretty capital efficient manner. That our CapEx need at startup was pretty light, and we were able to get into market relatively quickly.
Well, we're running a little bit behind, mostly because I was long-winded at the start, Frank. So thank you so much for coming and sharing Pay Amigo again with the group, and look forward to hearing what the terms are in Q4 when you go out for the next round. Okay. Next up, let's see. We have Alex. We got Alex and Nick. I'm looking for. We got a lot of faces on the screens. I know you guys are here somewhere. I see Nick. We should have Alex here somewhere. Alex, can you say hi?
Hey, can you see me?
Yeah, there you are. With the basketball jersey in the background, perfect. All right, so really excited to have Australia contingent. Please, everyone, if you can, mute yourselves if you're not a presenter right now. Okay. We get to welcome Basketball Forever, Alex and Nick, tonight. This is a really unique opportunity in that this is a business that's been around and growing and venture backed out of Australia, and they're now in the process of scaling over here to the US. I won't take too much time stealing their thunder, but what I can share is they've built one of the top sports media and entertainment companies targeted at millennials with over 600 million I believe it's monthly views. I want to say annual views, but I almost think it's monthly views across your website and your Instagram, across the content that you guys produce. One of the things that struck me when I was initially digging into this company was I went on their Instagram, and I'd like to share this real quick with the group, just because I found this really. I'm going to share my screen. So if anybody follows basketball here, they saw that Damian Lillard was recently traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Well, this is ESPN. This is their post and the engagement that they received. Now, shortly after that, the team at Basketball Forever posted, and if you look, they more than tripled the engagement that ESPN received within a shorter time period. Is pretty wild. I'd encourage you to take a look, because these guys really understand content. They understand their audience, and they're getting ready to show what the next iteration of their business looks like through that core